Welcome to LSB Feasters radio channel, where we keep great radio from the past alive. And today we're going to Philadelphia and 1210 WCAU. 1210 WCAU was a talk station in Philadelphia. In the mid-'70s, it left talk to do all news to try to compete against the big station, KYW News Radio 1060. After a few years, CAU said, this isn't working, let's go back to talk. But by that point, another talk radio station showed up in Philly, 96.5 WWDB. So they're doing talk on FM, doing well with it, so CAU is just trying to survive doing talk. And that's what they did until 1990, when it started simulcasting its FM oldies station. If you are a radio geek, you're probably going to love today's Aircheck. It features Scotty Brink, who is a radio legend. He's worked all over the place. He worked at WIBG in the 1960s using the name Don L. Brink. Then he just moved all over the place. WLS, WCFL, 93, KHJ, WNBC. I had a chance to work against him in Seattle. I worked at KRPM, and he worked across town at KYCW, Young Country 96.5. He is just so good. I love Scotty Brink. On this radio show, he actually is talking about radio and radio history, especially in Philadelphia, and he has some legends on the show. Matty Humdinger singer, who is a big record promoter. Frank X. Feller, a legendary jock in Philadelphia. High Lit, and Kal Rudman from the Monday Morning Quarterback. It's just a cool air check just to be able to wallow in radio for a while. All right, let's go back to 1981 with Scotty Brink on 1210 WCAU Philadelphia.
Hey, we're back. 3:30 at 1210 WCAU. I'm Scotty Brink, and we're talking about all kinds of things, but it's all centered around radio and rock and roll. And I have the most noted authorities anywhere on the program this afternoon. Of course, High Lit, Heisky O'Rooney, McBatty O'Zoot, Frank X. Feller, Kal Rudman, and Matty Singer. And we have a lot of people standing by who want to talk to you gentlemen on the phone, so let's get some of them on right now. Good afternoon. You are on 1210 WCAU.
Hello, Matty Singer?
Yes, nice day.
Yeah, thanks. Can you tell me, are you related to Artie Singer?
No, I'm not. But I'll tell you what I did for him. I broke a big record for him in Vinyl, New Jersey, called At the Hop.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Danny and the Juniors.
I was in the business a long time ago. Do you remember Buddy DeFranco?
Sure.
I was his manager.
Mm-hmm.
And Artie was very nice to me in those days. He's a nice guy.
Yes, he is.
Real nice guy. He's still in business?
Who, me?
No,
Artie. Oh, Artie, yeah, he's still teaching. He has a brother that's also teaching music.
Well, Artie, he was a vocal coach.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We all need one of those. Thank you for calling.
Have a nice day.
We're 1210 WCAU. It's 28 minutes before 3. Good afternoon. You're on 1210 WCAU.
Good afternoon. My name's John. I work for one of the FM rock stations in town. And I was just saying that FM is slowly dying, and I would like to disagree with that. I think that WMMR does lead in...
Well, I didn't say it was slowly dying. I said that there's no challenge. It's sleeping right now.
Well, I don't think it is, though. Last night we had a live broadcast with Channel 29 and on the air at the same time simulcast.
Yeah, at the London Victory Club.
Right, and that's a local band. It's not even signed. We're trying to develop talent. It's unfortunate that there's some competition in town that tends to just copy what we do, or play classics, or play people that are big enough that there's no risk involved. But
if they're copying what you do, that's the greatest form of flattery.
That's right. I compliment your station for what they've been doing, and I wish they would do more creativity. It's like sitting down and taking a taste to a beautiful meal, and they don't give you the complete dinner. That's the point I'm trying to make. They give you just a taste, just a sip, and that's it.
That's right. That's all we can give, though. It's hard to...
What do you mean, why is that all you can give? That's the point that I'm bringing out. Why is it all you can give? Why can't you give more? Why?
Because I don't think that the listeners can take that much at one time. You have to introduce slowly. They can't go out and buy Robert Hazard's album. They have to just hear it on MMR or SP now that it's been accepted.
Well, John, doesn't Michael Tierson in the evening on WMMR, doesn't he have a program or did have a program with some new wave?
Sure does. On Tuesday nights, he has a show called Guerrilla Theater, which is all new music.
Michael, by the way, is brilliant. I hired Michael years ago at WDIS-FM along with guys like Ed Shockey.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant. I take a lot of pride. Also, I think that Shockey and Michael Tierson are guys who are very powerful in this market, creating hit records by making things happen.
Frank Feller, you were the competition, running the competition with Superstars format, with hot tracks. You want to respond to what John just said?
Well, John, you have to go back to how this whole thing evolved. When we came on rocking, you were very, very progressive. I don't think you were there, John. You're too young. You were very, very progressive, and I think you had been sitting there very smugly, enjoying your success.
And you beat him, right, Frank?
And we knocked the bumps out of them.
That's the point. They gave everybody a taste and a sip, but they didn't give them the total meal.
Well, they were on an ego trip. Each jock over there was playing. I mean, it was like 7 different radio stations. Wow. Everybody was playing their same, whatever they liked. And
I agree.
Right, John?
That's a very unhealthy thing, too.
Yeah, and then we made the inroads by really coming in with real mainstream records.
And having a
we had
defined
huge
format.
Success, and then we made mistakes also. We had some personnel problems, and then you guys got it back together again.
Right.
And it's been kind of a bouncing ball there.
In the meantime, both radio stations went on a rocket ride. Competition breeded success.
Well, what
now
happened
they're
was-
almost
stations went on a
clones.
super
They're
climb,
so
yeah.
close now. I mean, they sound like the same radio station.
Well, as a matter of fact, today YSP is running a feature that we've run a number of times, and they ran it once while Frank was there,
Right.
and they ran it verbatim.
All right. Well,
This man takes a lot of pride in this radio station. I compliment him.
All right,
What
me
is his
too.
name again, John?
John, what's your last name?
Bloodwell.
John's a great
John
guy.
Bloodwell.
Oh,
John-
yeah, I know John.
John
Motion
Motion
director.
My compliments to you from High
May
Life,
I
John.
say
Tried to
one
hire
nice-
him once, as a matter of fact.
He's real nice. May I say one beautiful thing about a nice guy that no one has mentioned, who's doing a most commendable job in Philadelphia? Everyone was raving about Harvey at IOQ in the morning.
Yes.
Really.
This is good jock. Good
Great
sense of
jock.
humor.
We
Very
Great jock.
haven't
Everybody
talked
loves
about WIOQ, which is the third station. Now, they have shifted in their emphasis in their format. They are mass appeal adult album rock. They're playing a few, was it Earth, Wind, and Fire? They get a few cuts in there that
Kool
are
and the Gang.
Kool and the Gang.
They're pretty much an adult rock station.
You hit
They're
it, Cal.
really way
Mass
back.
appeal.
Yeah,
and their
that's right.
ratings have shot up, and I would
Yeah.
assume in the key demographic, 25 to 54, their numbers are astonishing.
Yeah, their overall rating is not high, but they're hitting their demographics beautifully.
Alex Demers is doing a good job as PD.
It was just brought up to me that nobody has mentioned a woman disc jockey yet. And I've heard a couple good ones.
Oh, sensational. I love her. God bless. Anita, if you're listening, you are
Anita Gevinson.
sensational.
Yeah, Anita Gevinson. And
There's a
we
lot
did
of
And who's the gal on
Helen
WISP
Light.
in there?
Helen Light.
Helen Light
Helen
is
Light.
great.
Sunday with the
Beautiful
Beatles.
person.
You
Beautiful,
tune in tomorrow,
beautiful.
Sunday morning with the
Hello,
Beatles.
Helen.
She has a marvelous program that she's built a la Heisky, with shows he developed. And who was over there at FIL that had the night show?
Barbara Summers.
Yes.
Now, do all you ladies in the control room feel
And then
better
they have
now? I mean,
some wonderful lady newscasters at piano.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have great ones right here,
Oh,
too.
right here, too.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
And
Thank
Liz
you.
Kiley.
How about my old station has some pretty good girls on there. Leslie Patton and oh God.
Quick.
Two to
Frank,
six.
Frank,
I
Frank,
can't.
Frank, the
Oh, you
lady.
have to do Drive Girl.
Her
okay.
name Early. Nancy
Pam
Pam
Early.
Early.
She's
Yeah.
adorable. She's
Yes, she's
great.
really
Cindy
good.
She's
Drew.
got the greatest radio voice ever. Cindy Drew is marvelous.
Gentlemen, I have to interrupt here for a second. Motorists have been ordered to reduce their speed to 45 miles per hour for the length of the New Jersey Turnpike because of hazardous driving conditions created by snow. In addition, motorcycles and house, boat, and utility trailers have been banned for the roadway. So,
Sounds like we have
Heisky-
some bad weather coming.
Heisky, I know you're a bad motorcycle, but keep it off the Jersey Turnpike. Okay. All right, let's take some more calls here. 1210 WCAU, and you're on with this. Who's this?
Is Matty Singer there?
Sure he is.
Yes, I'm here.
Matty, I'd like to ask you a question. I'm getting involved in promoting a recording that we're going to try to do something from a different approach. And since radio seems to be so difficult to get music played on, I'm just wondering about your opinion. Like in the old days when they used to go around and plug songs in record shops and five and dimes and stuff like that. Why is that? How come that isn't still used today? Why isn't it practical to use it? Or really set something up on every street corner in any market that you wanted to, promote it?
In other words, what happened to the old-fashioned kind of promotion, getting out of the stores?
Well, years ago, we used to have a staff of girls sending requests on postcards. We had so many different ways to promote records. It's a new ball game today. Today they have a tight playlist. It's very, very difficult to get a hit record played, let alone get a new record started.
Well, you guys were saying that by the time the records are played on radio, they're already picked to be potential winners.
That's right. We were talking about specifically WCAU-FM.
Well, what I'm saying is if you can't break in that way because you just can't get to the right people. If you stood on the corner of Broad and Chestnut with a three-piece group and did a thing, or maybe at Sam Goody's or at Woolworth's 5 and Dime like they used to do in the old days. Is that...
Yeah, I follow you clearly. It used to be done a lot years ago. I did it with the Four Tops and the Crusaders, but that's all out the door. It doesn't happen anymore. That's exactly what's happening today. It's out.
But if you like it, you can always try to revive it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right.
Matty, give us
Thank
another
you.
thought for the day.
My beautiful thought for the day is self-confidence has always been the key to success.
Give me the one about the enemies.
Oh, love all your enemies because you made them high.
Forgive your enemies. You're
Number
right.
one.
Let's take another call. Good afternoon. You're on 1210 WCAU.
Yeah, can I speak with Hyla, please?
I'm right here.
Yeah, I know you're into all kinds of music. I was wondering what you think of Gil Scott-Heron and Boz Skaggs.
I love both of them. Boz Skaggs has a song called Somebody Lend Me a Dime, so I can call my old used to be. When I hear that song, I want to use the Kal Rudman line. I want to eat the grapes right off the wallpaper. Gil Scott-Heron is the best with protest songs, and of course he's always pushed for the advancement of the black man and his music I could always relate to. I like the one where he does a thing where the revolution will not be televised. It's live, it's real, it's happening in the streets right now.
Right. Do you ever hear his Watergate Blues?
Incredible.
I listen to your show almost every day.
Thank you.
It seems like you have more variety in your show than, say, Ron Cade or the other guys. And I was just wondering, is it my imagination, or do you have your own personal record collection or something?
Well, no, it's just that I kind of brought the sound to town many years ago, and I guess I made most of the hits, and I'm probably more familiar with some of the songs, with things like Ain't Got No Home by Clarence Henry the Frogman. Some of these songs they're not too familiar with.
There
and remember,
is by the Dells.
I love that song, A Face, A Place.
Yeah, one more thing. Do you think there's ever going to be another a commercial jazz radio station in Philadelphia?
If I had any control on Philadelphia radio, I would make many alternatives happen, but I can't control the overall scope, and that's where the problem begins. I think a lot of radio stations are just boxing together into a one-man race, a one-horse race. And to me, I always liked alternative radio. If it was up to me, if I had a radio station, an FM station, there would be a taste of jazz, and there also would be some town and country music in there. It would be a potpourri of many things.
All right, thank you, caller. We've been talking a lot about the past of radio. We talked about all the great names in radio in town, and we talked about a lot of rock and roll and so forth. But the one thing we really haven't gotten into, we've kind of lightly touched on it a couple times, but have not delved into it, is the future of it all. And now we have a whole lot of new things happening. We have cable. I forget, what's the name of the music service that Warner Amex has on the MTV? Bob Pittman programs that. It's redundant, but nevertheless, a lot of the kids like it a lot. So cable is a big question regarding the future of music radio and so forth. Satellite radio is a big question, too, because now these satellite networks are forming. You have, people are beaming stereo signals off of satellites, and there'll be services offered to radio stations across the country, which may, in many cases, and especially in smaller markets, because of the economics, delete local programming almost. And how do you see it, Kal? What do you think the future is holding for radio in light of the onslaught of cable and of satellite? I want to ask each of the men on the panel here that before we're finished.
You just made a cogent point. The satellite networks, they're exploding all over the place, and it gets down to bottom line. Half the radio stations are in the red, losing a lot of money. So you can fire the entire staff virtually. Just have enough to have a local influence, a local flavor, which is a sine qua non. You must have that. But they can get rid of the staff and get their programming by top-level, national, world-class jocks, announcers, and news service, and whatever they charge. It's pretty cheap. You can get it for about $1,500 a month, I think, Frank.
Depends on the market, sure.
Yeah, for $1,500 a month, you're in business.
If you're in roast beef Indiana, it's like $250 a month.
You can run the station with 3 people.
With 3 people, right.
If
And
you're
it's automated off computer.
And the way they have the clock, the hourly clock, you still are able to get a real good local flavor in it. And that was the one danger that, losing that local
And it
flavor.
sounds live at K Earth in L.A., which is programmed by Bob Hamilton, who is a legend in Philadelphia at Wi-Fi, and is another great Philadelphia success story. K Earth absolutely sounds live, but the whole program except Morning Drive is automated on tape.
If there's a good anchor, local, he can keep the local flavor in there.
Right.
At the same time, take all the network feeds and also the network music, and he can have a very big thing going for him. I think it's a future. It's definitely a future, but there always will be local good radio. And it will benefit by the listeners.
It brings me back to what we were talking about earlier, though, with the several pages of job openings or job changes in Cal's column.
It's going to get longer.
That's why they want a quarterback.
As sure as there's a tomorrow, Cal, there will be I think this is the toughest business. 50 million people would like to be disc jockeys, but there's only 2,000 or 3,000 decent jobs, and there's going to be less.
But the guys that are at the top, sports or whatever, will make more money. The top guys that can put their voices all over the place.
And the key jocks, their heads will fall because they're demanding large salaries now, and the competition is bigger.
All right, so for a young person trying to get into broadcasting right now, who have these illusions of grandeur about being a disc jockey and so forth, what do you recommend? You think they should start learning a little bit more about video?
It's very discouraging. I'll tell you, in the last 10 years, most of it was card radio, the Drake Chenault formats. Was, you read a card, we play
one-liners.
One-liners. Now, today, all of a sudden, it's going back to personality, where you put a microphone in some of these guys who've been doing one-liners for 10 years, they freeze.
They don't know what to say. Right.
So again, we have to go through a tremendous metamorphosis, and satellite radio will prove that about personality. I'm a personality freak. I like personality.
When we got into radio, when we started doing this, we emulated people. We emulated Doug Arthur. We emulated personalities and their production techniques and so forth, and that's why we were able to develop our styles and so forth. But the problem that the young guy and girl getting into radio now has is the fact that they don't have the people to emulate. They're not there.
Well, you have to come on fire in front of the microphone. That's it. You've got to have electricity. If you don't have personality to begin with, the microphone doesn't give it to you. Frank, question. Do you see album rock radio with the aging demographics? You know now that the median age of the United States is 30. That means approximately as many people are over 30 as under 30. In Pennsylvania, the median age is 32. Do you see the WIOQ format starting to escalate? You see it already in the Arbitron ratings.
Yes, absolutely.
You see that,
you've got to start going for the 25 plus. You can't go for that 16-year-old and make money. You can't. There will be a station that will survive with that low demographics.
Because they'll have an alternative to go after everybody else is running to the right. They'll have a chance to go to the left.
But there are going to be so many demands made to get the attention of that listener. It's what they're calling narrowcasting, and it's going to get even more so. You're going to have a less of an audience, but you better very well be after that demographic and be dominant in the demographic that you seek, or you're not going to make money in this business.
What about cable, Frank?
Cable is going to have a tremendous effect. Yes, the kids are all over that MTV. I mean, it's constantly
comes in stereo.
Again, you're going to have 80, 100 channels, demanding, yelling, vying for your attention. You don't have to turn on a radio station that is not servicing your needs.
So what's going to happen to the economics of radio?
You're going to see a demise in a lot of radio stations, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the billing is way up for stations as TV gets so expensive. That's why these networks, the network radio, they're making elephant dollars. I mean, I see big dollars, and the value of these radio stations is going through the roof, as was alluded to earlier.
But that's kind of like the real estate situation, where the values went through the roof. Now some people are having a hard time unloading them.
And so
the problem, as I see it, we're going to break in a second. The problem, as I see it, started back in about 1967, when the FCC said, hey, no longer may AM and FM radio stations simulcast, you now have to split it up.
Did them a favor.
And did FM a favor.
Absolutely.
Did AM a great disservice as far as a music service is concerned. And in general, turned the basic revenue situation of radio into red ink, where it wasn't before. Because now every market in the United States has way too many radio stations. The pie is sliced way too thin. You look at Canada, compare that with Canada.
Well, they want to get more.
You look at a city like Toronto, and there are like 8 or 9 radio stations in a city which is the size of Philadelphia.
Yeah, but not in Philadelphia. We have too few. But you were in Denver. Phoenix.
Denver's really oversaturated.
I mean, way over.
Yeah.
And LA and New York, you have over 120 signals.
We have 28 rated stations
we have 28 here. That's a lot.
28 rated stations.
Compared to Denver and Phoenix, this is a piece of cake.
Yeah, but that's a comparison.
I think Los Angeles has 78 radio stations.
Scotty?
Yes, Matty.
Steve enlightened me to the fact that, the most consistent AM station that's been cutting it for a good many years, music-wise, is WIP.
That's personality radio and news.
That's because of the person. That's because Ken Garland's been there for 17 years.
Tom Romaine,
right, sure.
Bill Weber, Wee Willie Weber.
It's a radio station.
And a great news station.
I'll tell you what television better wake up to. They better wake up to music, because cable is going to be right up their tailpipe. And, hey, I still don't have my own show, whether it's me or anybody else. But they're forgetting something over at the television end. They're all over sports. But most women, or a lot of women, don't care a darn about the Super Bowl or playoff. Music is where you get the women. Women control the discretionary income of the United States. Hello.
You got it right.
The TV, you better go where the money is. You better go where the women are.
You got it, Cal. Listen, we'll be back in just a second. We have to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be glad to take a couple more calls. We have Highlit, Frank X. Feller, Kal Rudman, and Matty Singer with us this afternoon. I'm Scotty Brink at 1210 WCAU. Before we break for this program announcement, let me remind you of our phone numbers. In Philadelphia, you can call us at 839-1210. From South Jersey, call us at 541-1210. We are 1210 WCAU.
Is there a trip to Super Bowl 16 in your future? Hi, everybody. This is WCAU Sports Director Steve Fredericks, and maybe the answer to that question can be yes. Here's how you can have a chance to win a trip for two to the Super Bowl. Tickets, airfare, hotel room, and spending money. Send a postcard, or as many as you like, to Super Bowl. WCAU Radio, Philadelphia 19131. Include your name, address, and phone number, or stop in at any MAB paint store or seafood shanty restaurant and fill in an official entry blank. Winners will be chosen at random from all entries received by January 15th and notified by mail. CBS, MAB, and seafood shanty employees and families are not eligible, and you must be at least 18 years of age to enter. That's postcards to Super Bowl. WCAU Radio, Philadelphia 19131, or entry blanks at any MAB paint stores or seafood shanty locations.
Dear Officer Sample, for the first year of Richie's illness, he was always in hospitals and on medicine. But the worst thing was he was unhappy. We were afraid he was giving up, and if he gave up, nothing could help. Then we heard you talking about the Sunshine Foundation. You said you help children like Richie to have the thing they want most, because with all the medical bills, their families can't afford even little things. It was like lightning struck. I prayed you could help us. The trip you sent us on was the happiest time all year for Richie. He talks about it almost every day. He wants to go on. And that's why I'm sending the check. It isn't much, but I hope it helps. These children need you. They need a reason to want to go on.
Call the Sunshine Foundation, 215-743-2660. 743-2660. Sometimes laughter works when medicine can't.
Good afternoon. You're at 1210 WCAU. I'm Scotty Brink, and I've had a real plethora.
Why'd you tell us Donnell Brink, the all-night fink?
Nobody remembers that high. They remember Highlit, Frank X.
Frank the water tank. Come on, you guys.
Yeah,
let's get personality. I knew you guys when. Turn it on.
Downtown, crosstown, you bad motor scooters. Anyway, it's been a great time this afternoon, and we might take another call or two. We have about 5 minutes or so left here at 1210 WCAU. We've been talking about where it's all going to go. Finally, we got around to that. We've talked a lot about where it's been, and it's, as I say, if you take the group that we have in the studio, we have over 200 years experience in the rock and roll business, and we've talked about where it's been, but now we're talking about where it's going. And Heisky's talked about the fact that you did make the statement, although I know you didn't mean it that way, that the caller who called in and called you on this thing was correct. You did say the FM is dying, but that's not the way you meant it. You meant it's dying creatively.
Exactly. Talent is gone.
And it just seems to be a general trend in music radio that everybody is basically doing kind of the same thing.
I guess it's the sleepy winter. I kind of look for a lot of changes to come for the summer. Usually just before the summer usually happens, because people start migrating in cars and they listen to different stations, and radio stations start programming into a summertime sound. But I find it's boring. I yawn a lot. I hear the same repetitious records over and over again, and all compliments to CAU-FM. They're doing a great job.
I can tell you,
high energy rock, and the jocks being high energy, and the music and the repetitious jingle. WCAU-FM, WCAU-FM. I heard you the first time.
I'll tell you where radio's going now.
There's a reason for that.
You're brainwashing. You're being brainwashed.
Well, they haven't had their first Arbitron. I mean, Mike Joseph, he's a man with a plan. Where'd I get that line from?
The better things in life.
You got to drum it in.
Well, the monthly show, them going through the roof.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a call. You're on 1210 WCAU.
Hi, it's Michael Tierson here.
Michael.
Oh, Michael.
Hello,
Bless
Michael.
you.
The Gorilla.
How about some Chinese food, Michael?
Okay.
Matty? Hyde was the one that hired me for my first job. I want to thank him again at this point for making me possible today. But I'll tell you, I reached for the phone when I heard you say the challenge has gone out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge doesn't go out of it unless you get tired of the challenge. It's something that you got to keep renewing in yourself.
As long as there's a Michael Tierson with that philosophy, that's good. Then you're a heavy hitter. But I'm talking about a lot of jocks who were just followers and guys who played conservative. You got to take some chances. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well,
Michael.
we compliment you, Michael. I did see your program last night. See, you never know who's watching or listening. And I had you on the TV on Channel 29 with Gorilla Theater. You're mispronouncing it. Don't you say Gorilla in Philadelphia. It's Gorilla.
Gorilla, yeah.
And with that band that you're trying to start, Highlight used to start some bands way back, the No Names with Joe Sammartino and others. And that was a very exciting show with a simulcast, Michael Tierson.
Be 3 more of them, too.
What are the bands that you're going to feature? You might as well tell us now. From the London Victory Club on Chestnut Street.
The Rock Cats are coming up next Friday night.
All right.
All right.
Joan Jett.
Is that a local band, Michael?
Who are breaking real big right now.
Are they local, Michael?
Well, Joan actually grew up in Lansdowne.
All right.
Listen, Michael, our sales manager is now in the building. I think he's here to see Hi, to talk to him about that plug he did on his concert.
I'll pay for you, Mike, because I'm so proud of what you've done. Guys like you and Ed Shockey and Perry Johnson. I picked all of you guys, and I'm proud of you. A lot of people used to pick records. I used to pick disc jockeys and make stars on them. Butterball, Harvey Holiday. You all owe me.
Michael,
thank you. Money starting Monday.
Michael, thank you very much for calling us.
Bless you, Michael.
The one thing I wanted to say is that the only problem I see is that there isn't really new, hungry talent coming up from underneath. I see a lack of that. The real creative people starting with, bursting with ideas.
We were talking about that earlier, Michael. We think that there's a lack of inspiration. Frankly, I think most of the talent, the new talent coming into the business these days who have anything on the ball are going into talk radio, because that's where the challenge is now. That's where the challenge is obvious. There's a challenge in music radio too. It's just that no one's meeting it yet.
I think there's a lot of talent out there, disc jockey-wise, who are not giving the vehicles by the program directors and the general managers. There's a lot of guys, if you're able to just say, all right, man, go on the air and do your thing, have some fun, I think a lot of roses would grow out of the concrete in Spanish
I agree
Harlem.
with that. A lot of it is, it's very difficult to find a place to put yourself into it.
Michael, do you remember when we ran WDAS-FM?
Sure.
The talent that we had there. At one point, we had an abundance of the best talent in the city, and all of you, it's proven right, because you're all superstars today, all of you in your own respect. But you had something from High Lit that a lot of general managers and program directors didn't give you, and that's it. Hey, man, get on the air, have fun, do your thing. I'll pull you down if you don't have it. And I let you all go because you all had it.
Well, the challenge is to keep coming up with consistently good things, night in, night out.
That's for sure.
And that's the whole challenge of radio, that the long run, making it night after night.
It's preparing a show, too. It's getting your head ready for your show. Lots of guys would walk in and go in there, come on, let's go. But there's lots of people who would get there. I psych my own head about 30 minutes before I go on the air, things I want to talk about, how I want to approach the microphone. It sounds like, Michael, you do the same thing.
I do. I have to get there at least a half hour before, or I just don't have myself set. I'm still driving or bicycling or however I got there that night.
That's the way it should be, Michael. Michael, I would recommend to younger people going into business now that if they want a challenge and they really have talent and they want to exploit it, do one of two things. You either get with like a WRCP, which is a specialized format, or you get into this type of radio, talk radio, where you have to use your head.
Well,
constantly.
For young people coming in, my advice would be don't set your sights narrow. Leave yourself as open to as much as possible. The more versatile you are, the better your chances for survival.
But you better be very, very, very ready to take a lot of setbacks, because they're going to be there.
Because as soon as you make a little bit of noise, the program director pulls you down. No, we don't want to go that way. This is not your show no more. You're out.
And if you start arguing about too much, then you're looking for work and you're in the column, and
then you become a troublemaker.
Yeah, well, I have to thank Jack Lamar, who gave me the blue denim pad with the dungaree den when I started at WCAM. I was able to pull my own records, and he just let me do what I wanted. And a few people said, what are you doing with this madman on the air? He said, all I know is the phones are ringing. Matty, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I wanted to conclude it.
Yes.
You're going to conclude it?
Yeah. Well, don't conclude it. Just...
That's my job. I'll let you give a semi-conclusion.
Oh, well, can I say... I just want to say that on behalf of Kal Rudman, High Ski McVadio Suit, Frank X, yours truly, Matty Humdinger Sr., we want to thank you very kindly, Scotty Brink, for having us on the show. And also the general manager, Alan, I know you're listening. Alan Serksner, I know you're listening. Thanks a million. God bless you all, and have a lovely weekend.
Oh, Matty Singer, you're beautiful.
And see, all you rock and rollers, talk radio is really where it's at. Where else in the world could you get a chance to sit here and do this for 4 hours?
Oh, my God, it went so fast. It seems like just 15 minutes.
It really was
I loved
fast.
it.
We wanted to make it easy on you.
Now it's time to get down to some serious drinking.
Now
Bartender, I have a bottle of whiskey and a straw.
Listen, I knew that if I was going to do a talk show this afternoon for 4 hours, the easiest thing I could do would be get you four guys in here, because I wouldn't have to say a word, and I hardly have. And I want to thank you all for doing my job, and I still collect the check. That's the great part.
And John Anton, you're going to tell us a little bit about Dick Clark and how it was in his early days?
Say that.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was explaining before, Dick Clark was in the class of 1951 at Syracuse, my graduating class.
How did he make it at FYL? What was he like?
Actually, what happened there is that he was doing radio.
Yeah.
He was working on radio.
And he was in the booth like Jerry Ross.
He was doing the same kind of work as everyone else was, working, I guess, as a DJ on radio, and then the big break came.
Caravan of Music.
The big break came when Bob Horn went
the other way,
a separate way.
Yes,
and before you knew it, let's see, it had to be about 1952 or 3, I would say.
Yes.
That's when Dick Clark went to ABC, or ABC rather picked up the Dick Clark show from Philadelphia, and well, the rest is history because Bandstand became sort of international because it was also seen, I think, in Canada as well as the United States.
We'll get Dick in here sometime. Next time
and a tribute to Tony Mamarella, may his soul rest in peace, and Bob Horn, may his soul rest in peace.
All right, gentlemen.
They contributed a lot.
Thank you all very much.
And Charlie O'Donnell.
And Charlie O'Donnell,
who is still very much alive, and I see him now and again on some of these quiz shows.
Where did I lose control? I want to thank all of you, including John Anton, for being our guest this afternoon. Matty Singer, Kal Rudman, Heiski O'Rooney, McVadiozoot, Frank X. Feller, and thanks to Jerry Ross and Steve Stuhlman for being our moral support sitting behind us here. I'm Scotty Brink. Stan Gabella's next after John reports news, and we have some CBS News at 12:10 WCAU.
A very memorable 3 hours, Scotty. Very good. 4.
See how memorable
the
it was?
One. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. WCAU time is 3:59. I'm John Anton, WCAU News.